Now, we all know that media deals come and go, but Harry and Meghan have not left Spotify with Spotify people being concerned that they are leaving. Instead, of course, famously, Bill Simmons, one of the great podcasters and one of the bosses at Spotify, says that, they were grifters, basically. He's always had a pretty low threshold for them. But there's all sorts of claims now, including that maybe some of the things that were being presented on that podcast were not quite what they seemed.
Well, I suppose let's first start with Bill Simmons' words, and they were pretty punchy anyway. I mean, you ever politely have sort of sugarcoated it, what he did say. I mean, it was a flowery to say the least. Now, listen, Bill Simmons, hugely respected figure in the podcasting world, a senior bod at Spotify, and if he is calling them out for their work ethic or their ideas behind the millions of dollars that they were being given, and now the fact that they don't have a Spotify deal anymore, I suppose we've got to sit up and listen. Then we've had the business of whether Meghan Markle would be signed to Dior. I think that was probably a bit wishful thinking on her part. And now we've had these stories coming out that, she wasn't doing the recording, she wasn't doing the interviewing for her podcast and all the interviews that she did with Paris Hilton and Serena Williams. I mean, listen, that might be a bit too far. I'm sure she was diligently trying to work on the podcast herself. Whether it was a success or not, I think it was a bit more of people trying to wonder what she was coming up with in the first instance. That's why the ratings were so high. But it hasn't lasted for poor Meghan. And I suppose they'll have to go back to the drawing board, won't they?
Well, dare I say, because she's boring. This is the thing. She is inherently boring. Now, again, I understand that there's a whole industry in beating the living verbally out of these two. But I've watched the docos, I've listened to some of these things, and there's just not an X factor there. But what are we hearing about how they're trying to come back? Because, again, their exit from Spotify, pretty absolute. Do they have a team of people trying to find them new jobs, or will they have to self-fund from here on?
Well, I mean, the big thing is that they're going to need a lot of money to self-fund because they've already got huge overheads. Harry is fighting court case after court case, it seems. Who knows? I mean, they have employed an awful lot of people over the last few years. There's been reports made about the sort of transition of staff that they have had in that couple of years. People as coming and going as fast as they arrive. So I think that this is an opportunity for them to try and take stock of what has happened. There has been an awful lot has happened over the last 3 years since they decided to leave the royal family. I think in some instances they were trying to do it all at once. And, it's an unforgiving game, the media business. I mean, these are big numbers that they were talking. They were trying to capitalize on their celebrity. And it's come at huge collateral damage, hasn't it? Because Harry's family aren't talking to him. We've had the Netflix series, we've had the book, and it seems as though those relationships are so fractured that maybe there's not, maybe there is an opportunity to try and take their foot off the gas and take stock of one or two things in their lives.
Russell Myers from the Daily Mirror, lovely to talk to you. Do so again soon.
Cheers, mate.